Welcome back to the Tailosive EV podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Nick is freaking out again, and what do you have to announce today? Let's get it over
I have
with.
something very exciting to announce, guys. As you know, the Cybertruck is my life. Also, Randy, hello. We need to acknowledge your presence. You came back. Thanks.
Welcome back.
Thanks for not running away. We
This
did
is very
you.
short-lived. Nick is turning red. I have no idea what he's about to say. He's turning red at the face.
Me neither. I have no clue.
I fundamentally wanted to redesign and re-engine. No. Okay, so you guys know I love the Cybertruck, right? Is that established?
I've heard of it.
Okay.
I think so. Cybertruck?
Yeah, I think we know that I really want the Cybertruck, but I did a little thing. I tried to test drive a Mach-e.
Oh, you did?
Keyword being tried.
Oh.
What fell apart?
Also, I hate dealerships. That's basically this story is all about how I hate dealerships and how they're terrible, and there isn't a single good dealership in the entire world. And don't at me because I am very fact right now. Just
And
big boy facts.
this is your exciting announcement?
This was my exciting.
You sat in a Mach-e?
I did sat in a Mach-e. I did sat in a Mach-e. I did not drive in a Mach-e. Basically went to a dealership, a Ford dealership, and we parked right next to a red Mach-e. And I was like, okay, cool. They have some. I can get a test drive, right? Walk in. None of the car salesmen knew what I was talking about. Like, Mach-e?
Really?
What's that? And I'm like, it's the electric car that you guys are making? And they're like, oh, yeah, Mach-e. Yeah. We have one of those in the back corner of the showroom. And so, like, we like literally behind all of the desks and like in the furthest possible corner from the showroom, they had one little Mach-e sitting there, and we got to play around with the inside of it. But when I asked to do a test drive, the guy went in the back and he typed on his computer and came back out and he said, "Well, I'm sorry, we don't have any Mach-es on the lot." And I was like,
What? Serious?
Yes, you do. I saw a red one, and so I like, come here. I pointed out the window. I'm like, what's that? And I pointed to the red Mach-e, and he's like, oh, well, let me check again. And
Wow.
so he went in the back, and about 5 minutes later, he came out with a set of keys, and he was like, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and get it unlocked for it, and you can take it for a test drive. And I'm like, all right, great. Kind of random that you didn't know that you had a car on the lot that you do, and also why does no one care about the Mach-e? Because it's terrible. We walked up to the car, and he's clicking the little button, and nothing's happening. And so he gets out the little emergency key, and he's like fiddling around with the underside of the car, looking for a place for it to stick it. And he's like, I don't know. I've never tried. We've never sold one of these before, and I don't know what's going on. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you guys are terrible.
They knew nothing about it.
Yeah, they knew nothing about it. Then we went over to Tesla, and they were booked out for
Test drives
for like weeks on end, so that wasn't fun.
Okay.
But I was very sad. I tried to sit in a Mach-e, and they wouldn't let me drive it. Oh well.
Sorry that happened.
I'm glad you guys.
Yeah,
I'm glad you did though.
It didn't exactly happen with our not just like that, but yeah, they definitely didn't seem terribly interested. They at no point tried to sell me on it. They didn't want to give me a tutorial on how the car worked or anything. They just basically handed me it's not a key really, it's more like a little fob, and they're just like, oh, here you go, bring it back. They did not care at all. So I guess that might partly make sense, because I'm sure what mostly goes on at Ford dealers does not involve EV enthusiasts.
Nope.
It's likely a hub with a lot of F-150 repairs that people are coming in for, so that's probably what all of the dealer showroom staff are kind of prepared for. They're ready for people to come in with car problems or think about buying a big truck, and that's kind of what they're used to. So when someone comes in and they're like, hey, where's your electric car? Those guys are probably like, we have one of those? We do? Where? But it does speak volumes about how dated the dealer model is and how unnecessary it is. The one we were at had a $2,000 markup, which sucks.
That's crazy.
I mean, Tesla doesn't have a dealer markup, but they do change their prices pretty frequently.
Yeah.
They might as well.
They kind of do. Like, Model 3 is about $1,000 more expensive than it was 2 months ago, I think, or a month ago. Like, they just keep fluctuating those prices, but dealers get to just be like, Yeah, pretty much. They haggle. It's auto haggle because everything Tesla is done automatically. So they haggle the price for you. Makes sense.
And this car salesman that I was talking to, he was like trying to trash Tesla while he was, because I said, I'm deciding between the Model Y and the Mach-e, so I really, want to test drive this Mach-e here. And obviously I love Tesla, so there's no question about that. But he was like,
Right.
yeah, those Teslas are so expensive. And I was like, dude, the Model Y I want is cheaper than this car. And he's like, what? They're having some bargains over there. I'm just like, these dealers, stop being so terrible.
That's funny that they bring up the price
Yeah.
when it's the Mach-e and they have a dealer markup. And it's like, you guys are at best about the same price, so I wouldn't complain very much about your competitors' pricing.
And also the interior has like 90 materials on the dashboard, which is always fun.
Yeah. Not a fan of that
That was pretty bad.
interior too much, but it's a shame you didn't get to drive it. I thought it drove pretty nice. It was pretty smooth, pretty clean driving experience, but yeah, it doesn't have that same wow factor, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Tesla has that switch that flips when people get inside.
Randy
and they're
has
just
the
like,
lean green machine that can go
I
0 to
give-
60
Right.
now.
I give the Model 3 dual motor 4 Owen Wilsons.
Wow. Wow.
out of how many?
Wow.
5.
2.
Out of 5.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Fair enough.
4 out of 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I was getting into a lot of arguments in the EV community the other day because of talking about Tesla opening up the supercharger network and how they go about that. People seem to fall on different sides of it because on one hand people are like, we can't keep doing this exclusive charger network thing because this is going to complicate the whole EV transition. If people feel like they people now can go to any gas station and gas up pretty much, with a very few exceptions. But now with EVs, it's like, you have to go to this type of charger, you got to go to this type of charger. So Tesla kind of keeping it as an exclusive doesn't exactly help them accelerate the transition. So, but at the same time, people are like, I don't want my superchargers clogged up with slow charging bolts or leafs, and so both have great points. So I've seen people pretty split on it, but I haven't picked your guys' brain on it recently, I think, at least.
EVs, to my understanding, have the capabilities of using these networks. According to Elon, right? He said that it's not on us that they're not using them; it's on them that they're not either making the adapter or what have you to do so. But it seems to me that Tesla's more than willing to share. And I haven't changed my position of that they are an energy company and this is their business model. So business-wise, they should open it up. But as an owner, I don't want to share those wait times.
Sure.
Are you going to be selfish, Randy?
No, 100%. No, let me be clear.
Right.
I have no intentions of being generous. This is like I paid for it. This is mine. I'm an early adopter, and I want my benefits as an early adopter. If I can't have the latest and greatest range or hardware in there, but I get free charging at some places, and then I get my exclusive network with the supercharging station, I want that. And it's also because I don't think in the next 10 to 20 years, EVs will supersede gas. So it's not that they're not helping with the transition, but I'm of the mindset that it's not happening anytime soon because these people are on record of showing how these legacy automobile companies are notoriously slow. And I wouldn't be surprised if they try to get an egotistical head on themselves and make their own because they're going to think it's, Apple did it, Tesla did it. Everyone has their own in-house proprietary thing. Have at it.
Right.
I just don't want to share. And for a more hyper-specific reason, I punched out on the little map. I went to the new state that I'm going to, and I look at how many charging networks they have there, and they have way less than what they have here in San Diego, and I really do not want to share. Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, screw you guys. Mine. I don't want to share because it's bad enough. This is a good problem to have because we have to share amongst our own community right now because the influx has gotten so big. And I can only speak for San Diego, but San Diego has 4 in the immediate vicinity in the county that we can get to. I think 4, and I know they're building more. And there's a line we have to share. And ironically, they have well, maybe not ironic, but for me it's ironic. They put a charging station in front of headquarters Qualcomm, and so I drive up to Qualcomm, and I get out, and I'm like, iPhone, just like, oh, A processor chip, better than your Qualcomm Snapdragon 888.
He says this every time.
Every time, yeah. But it's funny because all these guys that work at Qualcomm, and they go charge their car, and they got iPhones. So I'm just like,
they do make the modems that go in the iPhone. To be fair,
I know, but I think of Qualcomm, I think of those Snapdragons, and
sure,
and I giggle. I have a little giggle, but we have a lot of charging stations down here, and there's a line, and we accept it. We share amongst our own community, and there's an etiquette that people understand about where to put their car, to wait their turn, sit to the side. They know not to hog. Well, one, you can't hog up because after 5 minutes you're going to start getting charged idle fees anyway. But people know how to be quick. Like, they don't charge to the max, whatever the limit is. They'll just juice it enough to get them home, 50, 60%. Yeah. So I see the unspoken rules, the etiquette that's being shared, and I like that amongst at least the San Diego Tesla community. I like how respectful everybody is. I can't
and how
speak for
snooty
else.
everybody are. We know, Randy. That's really what
it's just we all acknowledge that it's like, hey,
we're better than you. That's okay.
There's more us than there are plugs, so we're sharing. Add now every other Leaf, Volt, or Bolt, whatever now, like all these other people that want to come in and have the experience that Nick had at a dealership where they don't really know. They don't, like, people who buy Tesla know exactly what the hell they're doing when they're buying a Tesla. They know the trade-off. They know the compromise. They also know the vision that they're buying into. People who are going to these legacy automakers that are just doing it are, in my opinion, not as well educated in the situation, because if they were, I don't think they would have bought those things. If cost was a factor, I believe we could still meet their needs on the Tesla front with like a standard range Model 3, because you're not going to get something really much better than that for particular ranges and stuff like that. So the idea of sharing those spots now feel premature. And I know the counter's going to be like, all right, well then when? And I don't have an answer. I don't know when would be a good time to make that transition.
Come on,
when to
Randy.
educate.
Well, maybe not a specific timeline, but could you see it being based on when there's a excess number of chargers, that there wouldn't be as many lines that they could sustain?
I would love for that to be when they have excess number of chargers. I think our big problem is getting the infrastructure now even more mass adoption rate for that. But that will take time. And it's cool to see how much they keep adding throughout the country. And then I'll go over to Europe and I'll go to Asia and I'll just watch how all the red blips just get bigger and bigger. And I'm like, awesome. But they've been working on this for years and years and years. And to get to that, that's why I say I don't think it's going to be ready in the first 10 years. So maybe selfishly would say 20 years from now, open it up, because maybe we would have everything set up. Because this is a big conversion rate.
What do you think, Nick?
I am in support of it for certain vehicles, but not in support of it for others. I think if a mainstream EV like a Bolt or a Volt or maybe a Nissan Leaf or whatever, if those got compatibility with the Tesla Supercharging network, then yeah, Randy's right. It's going to run into these long lines. It's going to be worse than Costco getting gas. And sometimes just with Teslas, it's worse than Costco getting gas, just waiting for a supercharging stall. And that's not a good experience for anyone. It's a bad experience for the Bolt owner, the Leaf owner, and the Tesla owner. And the Tesla owners really don't have a good time because, just like Randy, they feel like they paid for that, which they kind of did. And it's like, I was part of their investment in Tesla, is like telling Tesla, hey, I support your vehicles and make more superchargers. However, I do definitely support some smaller third parties being able to use the supercharging network as long as they don't have a huge fleet size as of yet that cause these kinds of traffic jams. So like Aptera,
so maybe like
Rivian,
a Taycan.
I'm not a fan of the Taycan, but why not allow the Taycan, I guess. I mean, there's not many people driving it. So yeah, those smaller, maybe say, allow them to use the Tesla supercharging network as long as they haven't sold more than 50,000 units. I don't know. That number's just made up on the spot.
That'd be interesting.
But yeah, just a smaller number of people, because that would also help support those smaller EV startups and give them kind of a leg up on the big Mach-es and the big automakers, because they can say, hey, we're part of the supercharging network for now, and that's a reason why to go with Aptera or Rivian or Lucid or whatever.
I like that.
I think that makes sense, especially from a business perspective of, like, if they announced this on an earnings call, I think it would be pretty understandable if they just said, now, look, we can't open it up for everybody. Otherwise, we're going to override our chargers, and that's going to bottleneck up our customers. So we're going to open it up to smaller fleets first and try to scale the supercharger deployment as fast as we can so that we can bring more people in. But you're right. If they did just one day update the chargers and start selling an adapter and say, okay, any Nissan Leaf, feel free to stop at a supercharger, then yeah, we're going to have a big problem. But if it's just one little fleet at a time, maybe not even three at once, it's like one per quarter.
Yeah.
Like quarter 3, we open it up to the Taycan. Quarter 4, we open it up to Rivian. Quarter 1, we open it up to Aptera or something. Just little, slow, gradual phases. I think for one, it could make Tesla, their brand, look a lot better because they would be opening up to third parties. They could be like, see, we're a team player here. It's not just about us.
We're not a monopoly.
We're opening up to others. We're not trying to be a monopoly.
Economic friendly.
Yeah. What if you could on paper say we're opening it up to non-Teslas, but without overrunning the network?
What if instead of having a fleet size threshold, as I came up with a second ago, maybe it would make more sense to say if you're an EV startup and support the startups more, because at the end of the day, people who are going to buy the Taycan are going to buy the Taycan, right? Like, it's Porsche. They're not going to, Porsche's not going to make or break this year whether or not they have the supercharging network, right? But the smaller EV startups, Rivian, Lucid, Aptera, their very existence is very strapped, right? Like they're competing with Tesla, and Tesla, they're competing with Tesla in the EV space, but they're not really competing with Tesla's. Like, no one's making a Model 3 competitor right now because there's really no way to,
not a startup at least.
Yeah, well, yeah, not a startup, and that's what I mean. Like, leave the old automakers to figure out how they want to figure it out, and if they want to all embrace the,
that's a good idea, Nick.
Whatever, what's the other charging network that the Mach-e's in?
Electrify
America. If they all want to get on board with Electrify America and make that as good as the supercharging network, more to you. Great job, guys. But I think Tesla, in its DNA, Tesla is still a startup, right? Like, they might be a very, very big company, but the way that they pivot, the way that they move, and the way that they see the future, and the way Elon guides the company and hires good managers, and the whole corporate culture there is that of a startup. And I actually listened to an audiobook that was 9 hours long about the start of SpaceX and the first 4 Falcon 1 flights. And I didn't really realize how desperate a lot of the SpaceX, there were some 2 or 3 big make or break moments that, if one extra little bolt,
if this doesn't work,
if one little bolt doesn't work, then we wouldn't have had SpaceX as we know it. And I know nothing about these other EV startups, but I'm sure that there are similarities there when you're starting up an EV company for the first time. Lordstown couldn't make it work. Nikola couldn't make it work. And there's a lot of challenges. And I think Tesla, in its DNA, is a startup still. It has that startup culture. and it would make a lot of sense for them to support other startups and disrupt the big four.
You know, something you said that would be perfect for Tesla to announce opening up to superchargers. We will not let anybody use the supercharger if that brand is still selling an internal combustion engine.
Perfect. That's it. You got
Isn't
it.
that like
That's perfect.
That's like the purse, like, will accelerate.
Yeah.
But so Rivian, Lucid, they qualify. Aptera would qualify.
Yeah.
But if
Porsche
VW or
wouldn't.
Nissan comes in, they'd be like, no. Doesn't count. You need to be an all-electric brand. So superchargers only work for all-electric brands.
That is perfect.
So Porsche, as soon as you get rid of all your gas cars, or I mean, they could do some supercar thing. Maybe that doesn't count. But all your production cars are electric. You can use the supercharger network. That would push it.
It's an incentive.
That supports
There's an
supports the mission so much. Then all of the Porsche Taycan owners would be like, Porsche, get rid of the gas models. You know, they would be all pushing their brands to be like, how quickly can you phase these out? And that it goes right along with their mission statement, and it would be perfect because those startups obviously aren't going to overwhelm the supercharger network too quickly.
Yeah.
So that's a good idea. I had never seen that pitched before, Nick, so I'm glad someone brought that up.
Yeah.
Well done.
I'm glad I inspired you.
Randy's inspiring all of us today. I'm curious if you guys heard about Rivian. They're developing an exclusive charging network as well. Do you think that's the right call?
I didn't see that.
I did not hear about that.
The Adventure Network, they're kind of doing the same thing as Tesla. So they have destination chargers that will work with other brands, and they're like, what are they called? Level 2 chargers,
Okay.
I think. They're like 25 miles an hour, so not super fast, but you can plug them in at like parking lots and you know, commercial like malls and stuff. But then they have
supercharging
these
stations. Nice.
Yeah, Adventure Network is going to be just for Rivians, which kind of ticks some people off, and those are going to fast charge at 200 kilowatts and eventually 300 kilowatts. So those are the ones that are going to let you get hundreds of miles in 20 minutes. And so, but people were kind of surprised that Rivian decided to play the exclusive game. But honestly, I kind of think it might be the right call.
I like it again for selfish reasons that it doesn't congest our network then.
Yeah.
True.
I'm okay with sharing, but much like this is definitely an antiquated process, but I saw it working back when I had a gas vehicle. Shell and Chevron are considered like the premium as opposed to like an Arco or something that's diluted more. But the Shells and the Chevrons, they share. You can go to either or, but they have rewards and loyalty points that you can use with them. One that I remember, like Shell gives you the Apple Pay, like exclusive, like use Apple Pay here.
Oh, nice.
And that gives you the 3% back. So that's something that they worked out with Apple. Shell has its current this partnership with T-Mobile for their T-Mobile Tuesday that they can get their 20 cents off every purchase of the. So they have these little things, and it incentivizes you to go to the more expensive one of Shell over Chevron, and then Chevron has its own thing as well. But to my point, they're both one and the same, and you can use them. Using our network or say using their network for charging, if I like the idea of like incentivizing only EVs, you're welcome to use ours. But the fact that you have yours and that loyalty points of equivalent, or you can use something like for me, I would have no business going over there because my free supercharging miles don't work over there.
Yeah.
So there's no incentive for me to want to go over there. So if it keeps them from having a clogged up, well, at least one charging while I would be over there, and vice versa, I'm sure they would come up with their own loyalty reward program process as well. But we could still share theoretically in the situation where it's like, I need to get somewhere and theirs is quicker than mine to the destination or whatever. And I could there are exceptions that could be used. It's all done under the same belt, so to say. So I like the idea, but I am more in favor of them having their own network as well, just because it doesn't hurt anybody. If we could still, the caveat is that this idea of sharing for EVs only is still applicable, but still please build yours. Like don't be a crutch on us. We will have that business relationship, build yours as well, because then that benefits
Sure.
Tesla owners as well in the situation. Maybe they might need something that's not right there. How cool would it be that they start building those things out in certain locations that I like driving through Fresno, for example, those long stretches on the 5, and I'm like, oh, there's no supercharging networks nearby, and that's an anxiety I get to feel shortly, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be weird. And the idea of like something else that would be that they build in place of where there's lacking Tesla superchargers is a cool concept. Like, oh, cool, I can just go here, I just go there, and overall it's thriving the same ecosystem of just electric vehicles. Like everybody wins. It's not even friendly competition. It's just healthy business practice for everybody. You know, I don't see bad blood.
Right.
You know, Elon's not dissing these guys, for example. Like he encourages it. Like there's no bad blood in the market, because the point is not to be like, I'm better than you. It's let's move the whole industry forward. And so these guys that are taking these steps to do that, if that means build your own infrastructure, thank God. Yes.
Yeah.
Anything that we could do to get rid of these gas stations, end result, whether it's a century from now, I'm for. You know?
So,
And I think Tesla could make it like the issue you run into is if you can use superchargers, people might not be as tempted to get a Tesla and might be more tempted to get something else, which is why to me it would still make sense for Tesla to incentivize like Teslas get better supercharging rates, like you charge more if it's a not charge the battery but charge the cost like is higher. If you're charging a R1T at a supercharger, it's like twice the price. So it's like, oh, I should have gone to the Rivian network. It's like the point is, if you're in a pinch, like you said, if you're in a location where you're low on range, you don't want two companies bickering about exclusive networks preventing you
while
from
you're sitting
being
on the
able to
side
charge.
of the road without a charge.
Yeah, you're like, I got to call a tow truck because they decided CCS was the right port and Tesla decided this was the right port, and because they couldn't agree on that, I got to get a tow truck. That's
the one
going
that
to
has to pay
prevent
for
people
it.
from.
That's going to kill the EV adoption rate. Just that fact alone.
Oh yeah. That would
I like
tick
that
people
idea
off.
though, Drew, of incentivizing people, just like how gas stations today, as Randy said, incentivize people with points and cash back, and get 10 cents
Rewards
off if you
cards,
put in
yeah.
your card and spend this many points at a grocery store. I know that's a popular thing. Grocery stores sometimes do that.
Just think of the Costco gas.
Yeah, or even Costco gas, right? Like they're all competing on price, but they're all competing to be the lowest, right? And the reason why they're doing that is they want you to come back, because at this point, gasoline, a gas station, is a commodity. There's really not much differentiation between the nicest gas station in the world and the worst gas station
Not
in the
really.
world. I mean,
You're right.
you
all kinda suck.
you might be a little uncomfortable in the flickering light at 2 a.m. in like Sketchville, filling your gas, but like at the end of the day, you're still getting the same product.
When I was driving to visit Randy, we had to stop in LA for gas, and it was
I'm sorry.
like 11 at night, and I was
sorry.
just like, I hope we don't get murdered here. But
Me,
LA
LA's safe. Oh, come on.
pretty much any gas station at 11 o'clock is going to have the same vibe.
Right.
You're right.
Just like the one creep shooting up in the corner. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Behind
heard
the
of
wheel.
La Mesa.
But like to know in a pinch,
Yeah,
when you're
exactly.
low on fuel and you're having range anxiety, you might see a gas station, but you're not going to be like, oh, $4 a gallon, that's really high. It's like, I gotta go.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
going
right.
to
You
pay
need to
what I
get
need
2
to
gallons
pay.
or whatever just to make it to the
So
right one.
yeah, so
And
Tesla could be that same position. They're like, yeah, we'll charge your Rivian, but it's going to cost you. And Rivian be like, whatever, I need to get going. I need to charge. So that I could definitely see happening in the future of just like, when you charge a Tesla, here's your average kilowatt rating. If you charge via something else, this is your average cost per kilowatt hour. And people being like, oh, dang, so I'll save money if I go with the Tesla over.
So
Whereas if I use the Rivian network, it's way cheaper, that kind of thing.
what this is not a question for today or even the next 10 years, but what if like somewhere way down the road where we have Electrify in America's really well built out network, we have the Tesla Supercharging network, we have Rivian's Adventure network, we have like 3 or 4 other networks, like we have like 8 to 10 really good supercharging networks all competing with each other on price and availability and all that fun stuff. But they're all on different standards, or they all require different apps, or they're not like integrated. Like what's amazing about the gas network right now is you can take any car that's made at any point in human history, any gasoline car.
Pretty much.
The Model T, you can still go fill up at the same place. And you can go to any different kind of station. You go to Chevron, you can go to 76, you can go to any different gas station. You're completely agnostic. You're only worried about the price. And I think, I could be wrong, but I'm sure there's some kind of government legislation about all of the gas cars need to be compatible. Like, could you imagine if, say, Ford made a car that had a smaller gas input nozzle, and they also had their own network of gas stations, and they forced you to use that one kind? Like, I would imagine that's some kind of like anti-competitive lawsuit or something waiting to happen. And so, do you think at some point there'll be some kind of government legislation, mandate, court lawsuit, whatever, that says all of these 8 to 10 really good supercharging networks now need to all be cross-compatible with each other and only compete on price? Do you think that'll happen one day?
That's what Europe did. It's pretty close. The messed up situation in North America is Tesla was trying to agree upon a standard when they were developing Model S way back in 2011, and the government wasn't really interested in setting one. They didn't really look at it as a priority. They were just like, make whatever, I guess. You know, there wasn't much of a mandate of like, here's what all EVs are going to use. Whereas in Europe, they did agree on one. It was CCS, and they said everybody has to have this. And that's what Tesla built. All the superchargers in Europe have the CCS connector. They just don't charge non-Teslas, although the plug itself can fit. It just won't do anything. The Rivian is doing it slightly different from Tesla because they are still using CCS, and it appears that most non-Teslas are all kind of agreeing on CCS, the connector. It's almost exactly the whole USB-C versus Lightning thing. It was like Apple wanted a better reversible port, and USB-C wasn't ready yet, so they implemented it on the 5 because it was way better than 30-pin and way better than micro USB. But then a few years down the road, Type-C comes out. Everyone agrees on Type-C. Even Apple, on some of their products, does Type-C. But now we have all these Lightning accessories and Lightning cables. So the kind of difference with the Tesla analogy is, which one do you side with? Because the government can't really just give all bias to Tesla and say Tesla's the best. Let's all agree on that. But at the same time, Tesla has the biggest network, and they have the best-selling EVs right now. They have more chargers than anybody else. They have more stalls, not because sometimes people forget about, Electrify America having 2 stalls, Tesla having 40 at one of their locations. So there's a plethora. Tesla owns like 80% of the EV market in the U.S. It's like a huge number. So if you're talking about what's going to be the easiest to convert to, it would probably be quicker and easier to convert everybody else onto the Tesla connector because there's so many Tesla superchargers. But
that would probably require Tesla to become an open source standard at that point. Like right now, I think it's a proprietary standard, or at least somewhat proprietary as far as how they talk to each other.
Because I've heard I've heard they're open to letting other people use it.
Well, but it would still be licensed. It wouldn't be. It's not like the USB standard universal bus. Like you can go online and find the specs of how the two devices talk to each other, and you can make your own in your shop and never have to talk to anybody. I think if you want to brand it, you might need to do that though, because they do control the brand. But the actual standard is public, and I think that if Tesla was going to be made the standard, which I would be in support of because I really like Tesla's charging solution where you wave it and it opens up and it feels very futuristic.
Looking at all the different connectors, I think Tesla's design is the most elegant.
It's also small.
It's very thin. Yeah. It's a very narrow. The CCS connector looks so ugly. It's like this giant
dryer
octopus
plug
looking. It doesn't matter, but aesthetic wise, I'm like, why don't we all just adopt Teslas? But I get it. You're right. There would be a licensing thing there.
But so, I could see the government saying Tesla is the standard. Everyone has to do it. Also, Tesla, you're not going to be making any money on this design anymore. It's now public, and anyone can do it.
I don't know. What do you think could happen, Randy? You see a government mandate like that?
Unfortunately, I do.
Yeah. It sounds very believable.
Yeah, unfortunately. Not because I want it, but because I feel like that's the government, government be government, It be like that sometimes. And I think I think actually what Nick just said is exactly how I can see. It's like, this is not public. You're not going to make money off of this, and it could go that way. I would like it to go that way because obviously I'm not the one who wants to change. I want them to change.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, well, more manufacturers are using this one, and you guys are the oddball, but we have the network, and it's going to cost more for us to change our infrastructure, even if it's just the plug, you know.
The government might require everybody to pay into the collective fees of retrofitting all the connectors. The even more complicated part is how many EVs on the road have the CCS plug built in, which you can't really just swap that out.
Right.
You know, you're going to need a double dongle, as they call. You know,
dongle. I mean,
Tesla connector to CCS is this
so
big
when you go to a
funnel
gas
looking.
station, you have gas, and then you have the green diesel pump. Maybe they put something that's here's at the same plug. Here is the Tesla one, and here's the everybody else one. It's the same.
I could see that. Yeah. I think that has happened in some countries. They have both.
Interesting.
I'm not sure where, but yeah.
Like that would be the easiest. Everybody wins. Nobody has to change anything. It's all the same. It's just which pump are you using?
I wonder how complicated it is to make it like a split at the charger. I don't know. I'm not an engineer, but I feel like that would likely be the easiest solution because it wouldn't require everybody to buy an adapter, which would be annoying and frustrating. But I'm for the end goal. The end vision, of course, is you don't care what charger you're at. You can just plug in.
The thing is, I already have an adapter. Tesla's come with an adapter already. I have an adapter.
Right.
So
Tesla found a way
care.
to do two-way street.
Right. I in that sense I don't care because I have an adapter regardless, so everything will work for mine.
This is why everyone buys Tesla.
Yeah. So if you buy another brand, it should come with a Tesla adapter. Then I feel like the manufacturer should make it.
There you go.
Because mine came with it. It's just, and I keep it in my center console. Just plug it in.
Right.
Go. I've used that more than I've used a supercharging plug. So I like that way more. I'm in favor of that version more, where it's just, if we're all going to
include adapters
with the purchase of your vehicle. It's not expensive. It's clearly not expensive, and just you know, I mean, geez, we're trying to move mankind forward with cleaner renewable energy. At least you could do is just give us an adapter for free. So Tesla gives it to you.
Well, they should stop putting it in the box, though. We need to get rid of the charging bricks out of the box, because that's e-waste, folks.
It adds too much
only when
packaging
Elon
to
makes
the
that announcement
car.
on the roof of a gigafactory. Gigafactory Austin. We care about
That would be a
renewable
great
energy.
place for events,
I would
actually,
love that,
now that you mention it.
On the roof?
You know, have you seen the render of Giga Berlin finished?
Oh, yes. They have like a little park up there,
It has
right?
a little park with a pond and stuff. They could have an event on the very top of the factory. That would be wonderful.
That. Oh.
Huh.
They should do
Well, I'm
that.
glad we figured out this whole charging network thing. I feel like we just solved it in this episode.
I think so.
We've got this down.
I'm gonna call my representative. Everyone listening to this. So Mike, call your representatives and Congress people or whoever, and let's get everyone on board with this, because
exactly,
this America is the best America.
Right, all combined. Electrify America with Tesla.
With Tesla. Tesla is the best America.
Did you guys catch my concept of the 25K Tesla being a one size, one config? I never brought that up to you guys. I wanted to know if you thought that was reasonable or crazy.
Well, all the good things are normally crazy. One size
crazy
fits all,
ones.
or one size fits most. Well, I mean, look, for 25,000, there's innate trade-off. You know.
No, I want a roadster for 25,000.
No, you're not going to get customization. You're not going to get your bells. Maybe because my point of reference is just prior vehicles, but like when you make something. Actually, let me preface like this: seeing an EV get that cheap is going to be great. Like we win. It's still something that where we win.
Yeah.
So that's amazing with just in its own right. That's a great feat. But when you think of the cheaper, we say the Nissan Versas and everything else, that's like 11,000 or really, really cheap vehicles. They're more or less one size fits all. Like this is your Model T. You can have whatever you want as long as you're okay with it being black and this, that whole thing. Like 25,000. Not for me personally, but for somebody like you'll be okay with your one size fits all. Like this is it. It's.
You'll take what you can get when the price is that
it's
low.
Like, what are you buying into? Some people don't care of what they would consider gimmicks, the bells and whistles. That they're like, I just want to be able to charge my car at home, or you know what I mean. Like there are just certain things where it's like I care more about the utility of the vehicle, not necessarily the vehicle itself. There are just some people who are that, and a part of me, admittedly, I'm kind of like I'll take what I can get in that sense.
Sure.
Which is why Model 3 was my cheap entry as opposed to the X or S at the time. I was happy that way. So a lot of people, when you buy a car, when you buy anything that's a automobile, it's your tool. It might be a collector item as well, or what there are those cases, but for the most part, like
if you're Jay Leno.
Yeah, if you're Jay Leno.
But hey, I'm going to take a look. I'm going to tell my wife. Hey, Leon, I just wanted to see the Cybertruck. It's looking pretty good.
I feel like every time he talks about Tesla, he wants to show his really, really old electric car from the early 1900s. He's like,
right.
See,
they've been around for a long time.
by the way,
Eli, take a look. I got an EV too.
Sorry, you're not getting his eyeballs the right way.
I feel like I'm getting too close to Trump at this point.
Yeah.
I was going to say Shapiro. It's pretty close to Ben.
Well, yes. If you take a look, the EV.
Well,
yes.
Drink up. It's great.
I've not seen Tesla do a one range, one motor configuration, one battery.
I think that's the eventuality of it, though, right? Like, they've been removing a lot of options. The Model 3 at its max had 5 different configurations, right? Off menu, standard range plus.
20 different colors.
Long range, rear wheel drive, long range dual motor, and then performance.
They had a mid range for a while.
Oh, they had a mid range?
They
Well,
did.
maybe those didn't. Were those all at the same time? Anyway, I remember thinking
No,
5 was
at the
the
same
maximum
time.
number that they've ever had at one time. And that's a lot. To be quite frank, you have a lot of assembly lines doing all of those customizations. And what's Elon always say? The best part is no part. The simplest solution is no solution. And
Input
so
equals error. That's what he says.
exactly, input user. Yep. User input equals error. So I would not be surprised at all if going forward Tesla only releases really 1, maybe 2 variants of each model. I think that's a company will start with a lot of different options because they need to get market share. And then after they start gaining some traction and a lot of market share, they need to really pare down on those options and focus on what makes them unique and give their customers good experience. Example, Apple in the 90s to the 2000s.
Sure.
After a certain point, though, if we're using this example of Apple, at a certain point, once they have the scale, once they have a bunch of Giga Nevada-sized factories pumping out a bunch of different cars, then they have the scale and the power to offer different models and maybe even get up to that 5 or 6. Like Ford can do it, right? Ford, GM, all of them, they can have hundreds of different varieties of different cars and be able to produce them because they have that scale, that manufacturing scale.
Started with the Model T, just the singular.
Exactly, right?
And that's where it began.
Yeah, and for a long time, the Model T, Henry Ford, you can have a Model T in any color you want as long as it's black. And
there you go.
The reason why they started selling different colors and Henry Ford's original idea was to sell the best car ever and never make it obsolete, right? Like his plan was to not make a new model, and for a long time they didn't. I think from 1919, whenever the Model 3 started coming out, to like the mid-20s, they didn't have T. Sorry. Yeah, T, not 3. That'd be nice, though.
Randy's car isn't 100 years old.
I've been in the Senate for 120
if you
years.
see me in a Model 3 in 1919, I found a way to go back in time.
We're going to start
That'd be a
combing
cool
through old
picture.
black and white pictures and looking for Randy with his Starbucks in the streets of New York in 1919. But for like a period of like 15 or 20 years, they only sold the Model T in black. They didn't have a different motor spec. They didn't have anything. any color options. It was just a car. And
Right.
they quickly realized that they saturated the market. Everyone who could afford a car at about that price point ended up buying one. 50% of I don't know, whatever the percentage was of people who could afford a car in the 20s and 30s had a car. And it wasn't until I believe it was GM had painted their cars different colors. That was the first time.
I think it was Chevy.
Was it Chevy? Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was Chevy.
Yeah, they started a competitor to Ford realized that, hey, if we, it all goes back to planned obsolescence, right? You're trying to get the customer, instead of a one-time purchase, you want to have them updating regularly. iPhones, computers, refrigerators, washers and dryers, even houses and cars, right? If you buy something and hold it, the company only makes that one sale, and then you're good set for life. That's why they don't make things to last very long anymore, right? Because they want us coming back and buying more things.
The first light bulb is still working to this very day.
Oh, really? Did you see the same video I did, Randy?
No.
Okay.
It just
No, I just knew that.
it's just something I know. Like they LED lights.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, the original light bulb was built to last for basically forever.
Yep.
And they were like, we're not making any money off of this. So that's why they have, it's good for 10 years. Like
Really?
It's planned obsolescence in the light bulbs is a very intentional.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know
Because
there was
at
a
some
video.
point-
It's something I know.
Is it more expensive to make a light bulb that lasts
Marginally
forever?
more expensive.
Or
It uses a
what is
a
it?
better
What does it require?
It uses a different kind of filament. Those light bulbs had I don't remember what it is, but it's a different kind
and
of
it just
filament.
won't burn out.
And it doesn't burn out. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's
the
amazing.
but the big four light bulb making companies across the world in the 20s decided that, hey, everyone who needed a light bulb bought a light bulb, and now we're not seeing any new sales. So what do we do? And so they all got together and said, hey, I believe it's 10,000 hours of operation. Anyway, some amount of time, 2,000, 10,000, I don't know. But anyway, some amount of time, all of the light bulbs need to, on average, die. And they all got together, and they actually enforce that to this day. They have like this enforcement practice where if
How is that legal? Sounds like something
they're the light
government
bulb
would get
companies,
involved
so
with.
if the government wants to make it not legal, they can just turn out the lights in the government. And what is the government gonna do? They're powerful. They're the light bulb company.
I guess so. Is it different with LED?
LEDs do last. They still last. They're still rated to last that long. Like all of the light bulbs you see are rated to last that same amount of time. Whether it's a halogen light, a
Wow.
filament light, or an LED light, they're only designed to last so long because of that planned obsolescence. And I think, going back to Tesla, I know we kind of drifted way out into light bulb territory, but Tesla.
There's a big picture here about all that.
Yeah. Tesla's drive to make the best car ever is really gonna, like, I personally think the Cybertruck might be a car that I keep for 20 or 30 years. Like, I don't see myself in 2045 saying, wow, I need a new Cybertruck, or I need a new car that's not a Cybertruck, because
The new vehicle's just a sphere.
it's just instead of a triangle,
It's the
a
ball
sphere
from
now.
Jurassic World.
Yeah,
It's just the
exactly.
little
That thing.
hamster ball.
But just like the iPhone, right? Like the iPhone used to be square, and then they changed it to rounded it with the iPhone 6, and now we're back to squares. They only can flip flop, right? There are only so many different changes that they can implement, and it's going to get to a point, though, where Tesla's cars are just so good that they're either going to have to make them worse to continue selling cars and keep us in that forever upgrade cycle, or they're going to break their business model and go, eventually sell the ultimate car to everyone. And that's why I'm so excited about the Cybertruck. Taking this all back to Tesla, I'm so excited about the Cybertruck because from a design perspective and a range perspective and a price per dollar, or was that what I say? Price per dollar? Yeah, price per dollar. I
The saying
don't
that
see
makes no
a
sense.
better vehicle that will last any longer than a Cybertruck, right? You get the tri-motor Cybertruck, you have 500 miles range. In 30 years, when it's 30% of that range, you still got plenty of range to go around town, and you can get a new battery pack at that point. But also the design is beautiful, and Tesla is inching up. I guess that's it. Tesla is inching up on the vehicle that will not need to be replaced. And that, not electric vehicles, not climate change, not global warming, that is what is scaring big automakers. Ford, Toyota, all
Automakers,
them.
yeah.
They're scared of people realizing that you don't have to upgrade your car every 4 years.
Or service it.
Or
very
service it every
regularly.
day.
Yeah. Yeah, whenever I envision the Cybertruck, I never envision it like pristine new condition. I always imagine it like stuck in some like back of a, someone who has like a bunch of crap in their backyard and
Yeah.
there's like a bunch of things stacked up. I imagine the Cybertruck kind of sitting underneath a bunch of wood, and then you open your phone and like connect to it, and you just see these lights come through like pine needles and stuff that are all collected over the truck over the years, and it just lights right up again, and then you do the summon thing and it just kind of comes out of this
I would love that.
shed that's collapsed on it. It's like, yeah, because it's all steel, there's no paint, and the 4680 is supposed to last real long, so it would just be like this timeless, like it could show up anywhere and it's still working. But somehow we started with the 25K Tesla. But
Because we're saying the Cybertruck is so much more
I
valuable.
bet if you asked Elon, he would say the future is no car ownership because they're just going to robo-taxi everything, which I doubt personally. But
well, with
can think what
the
he thinks.
25K Tesla, I think the reason why I got on the planned obsolescence thing is because there is a price to quality, right? Like the $25,000 Model 2 would lend the credence to the idea that Tesla is moving towards the planned obsolescence. $25,000 car is not going to be as good as a $40,000 car. You're not going to get as good of battery. You're not going to get as good of a motor. It might be a really good car still. I think the $25,000 Model 2 is going to be an amazing car for the price, but it's not going to last as long as a more expensive Tesla. And Tesla taking that direction is fine. That's how they're going to continue to be the world's biggest company in 2050. But yeah,
because they gotta do what they need to do to get people to switch.
Yeah.
So like they said at Battery Day, if people, you can make your cars as desirable as you want, but if they can't afford them, they're not going to help anything.
Butts and
So that's
seats.
why I think just the fact from Battery Day, they said that the Model 2 would be using a lithium iron phosphate instead of nickel. That makes me think, okay, the only places they're using LFP are in the single motor standard range in China. And if this is in China, and if this is supposed to be iron phosphate only, I've never seen them do different battery options with the iron phosphate vehicle. And I know that battery is less energy dense, so it has to take up more space in the car. So that's why I'm envisioning there's only one range option. There's no standard range and long range. There's no dual motor variant. It's just one motor, and maybe even minimize the colors like you guys talked about.
I got
What
an
did you
inbound
do,
call
Randy?
and it disconnected my thing.
Oh, dang. Whoops.
It's okay. I
It needs
synchronized
to
it
drop
for you.
down. Anyway,
this
yeah,
never recorded
I
yet.
could see kind of like Apple with the iPhone SE, right? They only have 3 color options for that affordable
Yeah.
option. So that's why I designed the thumbnail the way I did. I was like black, white, and red, and one range, one motor. That's it. There's full self-driving. That's all post-delivery.
And that's kind of what the Cybertruck's design page is at this point. I mean, you have 3 options
Pretty
with
much.
full self-driving. And I guess, color's
Yeah.
different than on motors and battery.
And I
but-
don't have a lot of faith in that base option. I
really?
really doubt that'll
Okay.
ever hit the market at this point, especially with how Tesla handled the Model Y standard range. I'm like, oh, so you just want to hit your price point once and then take it away.
Yeah.
The Cybertruck single motor will come out, and then they'll say it doesn't reach our standard of excellence, so we're taking it off. But the dual motor is really what you want, and actually the tri-motor is much better. So
Yeah, it is. Tri-motor's
just
the
get
best.
the tri-motor.
The Tri-motor's the best price per dollar.
Is what you want to pay. You don't want to pay 45. You want to pay 75.
Plus the
They
$10,000
just like that
FSD.
screen at the event when they get to say starting at $39,900. Everyone's like, wow. Okay, we're paying 70. Sounds good. Yeah. You gave me some interesting. I did not know about the light bulb thing though.
Yeah, the
That's
light
cool.
bulb thing, like those,
It's not cool, but
it's not cool. But yeah, I don't know if that's actually what they're called. But I was like, oh, the original Edison light bulb.
Yeah.
is
Filament
still
ones.
very much working, and it goes to show that we have the technology to have longevity and things last forever if we wanted to. But
And same with
bottom.
clothes. Like, there's just about everything is not meant to last in our society, and it's so sad.
But we
Like,
do have the potential to make it last,
Yeah.
but we choose not
and
to.
we had the potential. We had the potential to make it last. That's the interesting thing. There are clothes in closets and in Goodwill across the world that were made in the 40s and the 50s that still look great because they're made out of great materials, great actual linen, actual cotton, actual wool, instead of all the
I thought
synthetic
you said
stuff. that we
women,
wear.
not linen. Great
Linen.
actual women. Women in the 50s were better. I agree, Nick. I agree.
Get your mind
That's
out of
what
the
he meant.
gutter. But yeah, like, our whole society is about planned obsolescence, and that's the most frustrating thing for me, right? Like, if we're trying to take care of the environment and we're trying to take care of our planet, which I think we should, nobody is. We're all still in this consumer mindset where, like, we got to have the latest iPhone, and I play part and parcel to it too, right? Like, I'm upgrading my phone. I upgrade my computers way too often. I play into this way too much, but, like, the reason why we're having environmental problems is because of the consumerism, and companies are never going to be incentivized to do anything but encourage more consumerism. That's why with iPhones, this isn't the Apple podcast, but with iPhones, they got rid of the charger to make everyone feel like it was doing something better. And marginally it did, okay? Shrunk the size of the box, great, good for them. But at the end of the day, the real problem is having a new iPhone every year, or every 2 years, or every 3 years, or even every 10
That
years,
upgrade
because they are not
program.
made to last.
There's truth. There's truth there. Did you guys see the V11 software
No.
that was in the Model S
Oh my gosh, yes! Oh,
with the gear shifter thing and all
I
that?
want this
Did
so
you?
bad! It looks so beautiful! Yes, I need this! Oh.
So I take it Nick likes it.
Yes. It's like
What
an
did Randy
iPad.
think?
Randy likes it.
Oh, nice!
Randy want.
Randy want.
Do you think there's a way they could bring that to the 3?
God, I hope. Because it's all on the landscape orientation.
Yeah, they better. They better. Otherwise, Randy's
hope.
going to have some planned obsolescence and upgrade to a Model S to get that beautiful, beautiful UI.
Right.
The thing is,
Mhm.
we talked about like having little windows on all of it, and you don't need your map to take up the whole thing, and seeing it like pinched in smaller. And,
Looks like a desktop almost.
Yes.
yeah,
It's like widgets.
and it's clean. Like it's there's more.
And the
I
color
don't know,
splashes. It's not just stark white. There's like color.
Yeah.
It's like,
Listen, I want. Give me anything that gets me as close to CarPlay as possible, and I'll be happy. And that's what that is. It's getting closer to CarPlay.
Yeah.
I like the cleanliness of it. I like the gear shift being right there close to it, if that's how you want to do it. I think the idea of it being a software input, though, without any haptic, feeling of confirmation would throw me off. But it's same reason why I don't like a touch bar too. So I guess it's indifferent. But the idea of like this is how you're changing gears. We're just playing a big old video game at this point.
Yeah. Driving is a video game now.
Driving is a video game now. I'm at an arcade, and that's how I shift gears, just by going or what have you. But it looks really nice and clean. While I was away, I got notified on my phone, software updates available, so I clicked install.
ooh,
Hurried home.
No button.
no button. Aw.
I think he said April now. I think he changed it again.
Oh, what?
I can understand
What?
why.
You clicked
Basically,
time?
I mean, it's one of those things I completely understand why you would push it back. The Cybertruck, I don't understand. Like, I, to this day, wish Giga Texas could have just been the Cybertruck thing and they didn't have to prioritize Model Y there. But they know it's profitable, so they're going to do it. And they don't really know how to mass produce the Cybertruck, but I don't care. I'm just like, that should be goal one at Giga Texas, getting the Cybertruck out. It should not be, let's do another Model Y factory for the 4th time. I'm like, can we just focus on that? But when it comes to the FSD beta, it's honestly a miracle there hasn't been more issues with it so far, given they've
Really?
issued it out to like 2,000 people. Like if someone got into an accident with a pedestrian or a biker, or the beta was on and they hit somebody and they die or got seriously injured, that's going to hugely impact.
It's gonna come at some point. No one's saying
it has
it's
to
not.
come.
It's gonna happen.
But they want to prevent it so that it's as rare as possible.
Yeah.
And extremely isolated instances. Like, it's inevitable. Eventually it will happen. But if it happens repeatedly, then regulators get involved and severely limit the rollout. So, and I know how many morons are out there that are trying to trick the system and see how crazy situations they can give it, and then the TikTokers jump in the back seat. So when Elon first said that there would be a beta button, my initial thought was, when I read the tweet, I was like, oh, so that means like you can request it and then you're on a wait list and then they'll let you know. So that then they know right away, okay, that person wants the beta. Let's see if they have a good history. Let's see if they have good credibility, and then we'll give them. But then he corrected later in a reply and said, no, anybody who taps the beta button will get the beta. And I was like, oh, wow, that's that's going to be pretty much everyone. Every Tesla owner that has a Twitter account will be clicking that button.
Yeah,
I guarantee
totally.
you. I can't think of a single person who bought FSD that's going to be like, nah, I don't want to try it. Like, everybody's going to want that thing, and the number of beta installations are going to skyrocket once that button is there. And then there's a lot of potential for something to go horribly wrong, and that can permanently damage Tesla's reputation. It could damage the stock. It could damage people's perception of autonomous vehicles. And you know, I saw a video someone posted the other day of the beta doing something weird. They basically just montaged all of the worst moments they could find and condensed it into like a 30-second Twitter video. And I don't know who it was, but someone with a pretty big following was like, I am never getting in a Tesla. Look at how crazy it is. And it obviously made mistakes, but it didn't get into an accident. But seeing the public response to that video clip and seeing how many people are like, that's crazy, this should be illegal, how is this possible? You know, there's so much misinformation that is so easily spread that just the headline of car with full self-driving software hits someone. Or
So this has actually already happened.
Well, it's happened to
Uber.
Autonomous vehicles.
Yeah. So in September 2020, Uber, their self-driving car was involved in a sadly fatal accident of a 49-year-old female who was taking her bike across the street at night in Arizona. And the media backlash on that has been fairly, I mean, obviously Uber is different than Tesla because Uber is actually paying a person to sit there and watch the road. Like, that is this person's job. And they
it's
weren't.
fairly limited.
And they weren't.
It's not that many places.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, they weren't. They were charged with being visually distracted. And the driver is being charged with this unintentional manslaughter. And it is extremely sad and a tragedy. But it's going to happen, right? Like, accidents happen every day. 600 people.
They do.
You have a 1 in 600 chance of dying in a car accident. Everyone's going to die at some point. You have a 1 in 600 chance of dying with a vehicle-related accident. It's one of the most likely ways for you to die that's not some kind of medical problem.
Sure.
It's going to happen. Tesla's going to get it. And just knowing how the headlines work with the Teslas catching on fire, you know, if they ever get in an accident and catch on fire, you know, we don't ever really see headlines of gas cars catching on fire because that's not interesting. We also don't really ever see. We see some headlines. I want to preface that we do see some headlines of people dying in pedestrian-related accidents with actual drivers, you know, but it's never wall-to-wall national coverage when that happens. And I know for a fact, as soon as a Tesla in autopilot in full self-driving sadly kills someone, it is going to be a PR disaster unlike
Skynet is
Tesla's ever
online.
seen.
The Terminators are taking over.
Right.
Yeah.
Worst possible reaction you can imagine. Someone will have that.
Yeah.
And I think the difference, you know, we're very likely to die in car crashes every day, but the difference is there's so many different drivers. Whereas if we have one piece of software that's driving thousands and thousands of people, then it becomes much worse because if there's a flaw spotted in the system that's like, oh, that same driver that caused that lethal death is driving all these people right now. So I understand completely why it's not the exact same thing as finding out that some guy was
Joe
texting
Schmo
and driving
on
and hit
heroin
someone.
was killing pedestrians on the sidewalk. Yeah,
Right. It's like,
that's
okay,
not-
we take him in, we take away his license, he's not driving anymore. Whereas the FSD, that's a bigger deal to take away that driver from control. That's like, okay, shut down all the cars, shut down the network, no one can turn it on anymore. I wonder if they have a kill switch like that.
They probably do. I'm sure they do.
I'm not sure if activating autopilot requires some type of internet double check. I don't think it does, because you can be in the middle of nowhere with no service and still turn it on. But I don't know. Maybe if Tesla really wanted to, they could flip a switch.
And they can
be
flip
like,
a
okay,
switch
no one
on
used the
individual
beta.
users, because they
Yes.
said when they upped it to 2,000, they removed a good number of people who are misusing it.
I don't know who. I
Yeah.
didn't see any influencers say they were removed, but yeah, that was
Probably
interesting to see.
5 or 6 of them. I mean, probably wasn't that many.
But it was weird to know that they can look at the interior camera.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find that weird, Randy, as a security guy?
Yeah.
Did that kind of freak you out a
Have
bit?
you put a little piece of tape on it yet?
No, I'm not gonna put tape on it, because I would want to have it for my internal security purposes. But no, it's weird. It's definitely weird. It's uncomfortable, but I mean, at most, you're probably just gonna see me digging in my nose as the most probably thing. Like it's not. It's just the idea that.
It's not the same thing as like a computer in your bedroom, This is like
Right.
you're driving a car, most likely in a public place. You're not usually changing clothes or going to the
Yeah.
bathroom as you're driving the car. It's kind of a different, in my
But
opinion. It's
yeah,
not the
but-
exact same thing.
you
But
s-
it adds a
you
sense
still
of
don't-
responsibility.
Huh?
Mm.
It adds a sense of responsibility.
But you still have. I mean, there are people who have tinted windows for their own privacy as well, and I
Sure.
I don't
Sure.
I don't discredit that. And the idea of if something's recording me without my permission, without my consent, without my knowledge, regardless of where I am, that is a problem. At least when there's a reasonable
Expectation of privacy.
yeah, and you also understand that when you are at a mall or you are at a precinct and there's security camera, you understand, you accept, you proceed, and you perform as you would expect being recorded. But when you are in the privacy of your
Property.
of your property,
And a lot of laws that apply to homes also apply to cars. Your castle laws or whatever.
Sure.
I mean, that is I might not own
a
the
car-
software, but I own those wheels. I own that thing. I have papers and like that's mine.
Yeah.
So the idea of being watched without my permission or without my consent, regardless of wherever I'm at, that's just a human privacy issue for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, to answer your question, Drew, it is. I find it weird, and it's like oof, but. I would be the first to admit that I'm more neurotic about stuff like that than probably more people care to.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I
might be
hate
something
that I
they
know
just do on the
things
beta.
I'm not just that burden of like you can get very hyper specific and get very neurotic about it, and it's just you accept it for what it is. But I also accept that when there's a camera like this one watching me, I still perform like we aren't the only three having this conversation in lifetime right now. And then I have this
Because
one for,
people are listening.
well, yeah, hi guys. Yeah, but I also accept even during like right now as a recording, like I just my neurotic tendencies say we're constantly bugged because we constantly are bugged. But yeah, it's weird.
Have you guys seen The Circle? It's
Yes.
a movie.
No, I haven't
It's
seen
a
it.
movie
I've
about
seen
a
Circle.
lady
Wait.
who live streams her entire life.
No, Circle on Netflix is a TV show. That's what I know.
Oh.
Oh, no, it's a movie.
I was like, how is that going to tie
It's a
in?
reality show. It's like Big Brother 2.0.
Yeah.
Like you're watching and you're playing these games, and the circle is all these cameras are on you at all times, and you're playing these games to compete to the very end. But
Huh.
I think the
I
premise.
think that's how Twitch started.
Maybe
Twitch used to
Netflix
be,
took the movie and made a TV show out of it because it sounds fairly similar. Like it was Big Brother,
Yep,
people always
it's Big
watching,
Brother.
but like it wasn't a reality show. It was like this lady is an experiment. She was an engineer for basically Google. I mean, it was called The Circle, but it was basically Google.
Wait, can we not go past what Drew just said about Twitch was on 24? Like, what was that you're saying?
Twitch, before it was called Twitch, I believe, was a website called like Justin.tv, and it was a guy that was basically live streaming his whole life.
Huh. Yeah.
That's
Or
weird.
something like that. I could be misremembering the name, but I just remember the origin story of the site being about a guy who live streamed everything,
Interesting.
which is kind of a weird choice, but yeah. If you're
Pioneer,
going to pay
Drew.
me, that's different.
He was pioneering. Okay, if the Kardashians
I might be willing
can
to
do
stream
it,
everything.
or Jersey Shore can do it, then Justin in his bedroom can do it.
That's how it all begins. It's one of the like original live broadcasts on the internet and that kind of thing. It's kind of weird, but
The Truman Show.
yeah, I mean, the good news is it shouldn't be that hard to cover up that camera if you want.
Yeah.
It might disqualify you from the beta or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like from.
It might be
Tes-
one of those fine print things.
Yeah,
If you
Tesla's
do the
point
beta,
of view, I understand, and I will accept the terms if that's the agreement. I personally would accept it.
me
But
too.
it does not sit right with me still. You know, like
Yeah.
I'm not okay with it. And this is where I feel like, am I compromising my ethics, or am I just overly neurotic? I don't know. I know that I want to see full self driving. I want my money to be put to use because darn it, I paid for it. Like, and in that sense, it's like fine. I'm not doing anything
Yeah.
illegal or inappropriate in my car, but that does not give you the excuse to just watch me. Still, I don't like.
Sure.
That. You're gonna see me digging my nose, or sing off key as I'm listening to music, or like that's the worst you're gonna see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most of what you'll see. You're welcome, Nick. But it still doesn't give I don't know. There's something weird about it. There's something, and I feel like that fine print. Well, I mean, it would be in it because you need consent in two all-party consent states like California, where everybody has to agree for it to happen. But what happens when you have people in
Yeah.
the car who did not agree and now they're being recorded?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's my passengers didn't
true.
consent to that. If I'm
Right.
Ubering, my fare didn't. We're doing a business deal, like they didn't consent to that. So
True.
it's weird.
There,
Yeah,
there
there's
is
a lot of
though something to
legalities.
be said though. This is happening in a car and not your bedroom. Like personally, I do keep my laptop's cameras covered most of the time, just because these are more intimate devices. They go with me in places that I wouldn't reasonably expect someone to be able to look in a window and see me. Whether that's my hair being messed
Yeah.
up and rolling out of bed. But when you're in a car, there's like a difference of like reasonable expectation of privacy, and you lose that when you're in public. Walking down the sidewalk, it's reasonable to assume that walking down a sidewalk, someone could take a video of you.
Or you're in a place with stoplights and cameras and CCTV, places in public that have tons of cameras like that anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I see both sides of the argument, and I honestly think companies like Apple or Microsoft or Amazon or Google should be much more focused on the privacy arguments than Tesla.
Yeah.
I feel like that's
Much more
the
basic.
privacy of the home is a much bigger issue than the privacy in the car, which there is an argument to be made there. I just think it's not as crucial or as vital, because you're in a public area where most likely people are going to see you, even with tinted windows. They
Yeah.
can kind of see inside a bit.
There are laws in
And-
place that you can't have it tinted after a certain point.
Right. Right.
It's a security thing even for the public at the same time. It's not just security for you; it's security for the public
Sure.
that they need to be able to
Yeah.
see in. And I get that point as well. But that's between, public official like law enforcement or a sheriff's department like that. Is the difference
Right.
between that
True.
and having
True.
a private company or a public company, but a private business. Not the government looking at me. It's weird. It's such muddied waters that I think we're all just kind of not making it up as we go, but we're all trying to find that appropriate balance in the process, because there's obviously arguments on both ends. Oh my goodness, everybody I think we're past our time, guys. Everybody.
Okay. Do we have any final thoughts?
I
think
am
so.
excited for a network outside of Tesla to come to fruition, just so they don't clog up our spots. That's my final thought. That idea of
That would
just
be cool.
How Nick
Agreed.
pitched it, I was like, yeah, I like that idea. EVs moving the industry forward. That's what we got to do.
Well
Cool.
done. All right, guys.
Have a good one, guys.
We'll see you next week.
See you next
Take
week.
care.
Bye.
Bye.